Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. I'm Dr. Marty Ginsberg of Reading Simplified, where we streamline instruction for the teaching of reading and accelerate students' reading achievement. And I'm so honored to bring you a special guest to talk about how phonics card games can help solve the guessing problem and many other problems. So welcome back to me, Martha Kovak of soundreaders.com. Hey, Martha.
Hey, Marnie, how are you?
I'm great. I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
So Martha is a teacher, a university professor, a dyslexia therapist, and also the creator of some really cool cards that are great for helping beginning readers and struggling readers. She calls them crazy cards, and we're going to get to sneak a peek at them tonight. So say hi, let me know who's here. And we'll get started hearing Martha's story. She's going to tell us a little bit about her background, how she became interested in the teaching of reading, and how she works with students who struggle. And particularly, we're going to hear about one child, Gloria, who was a rampant guesser, and how she overcame that. And then we're also going to get to see some of the ins and outs of the cards that she's created. So you'll get to see what they're like. And if you are a Crazy Cards user, let us know how they have helped you or your students. So now I'm seeing people come in. Welcome, Jennifer, and someone from Chapin, South Carolina. We have a lot of people in that school there. Welcome, Kathy and Zozanne. We're glad you guys are here. So let me pass it back over to you, Martha. Tell us a little bit about you as a teacher who, I think like me, at one time you found yourself not realizing how to teach reading. You realized you didn't know how to teach reading, and that was a bit of a shock. How did you get from there to here?
Well, mine was right in my first year of teaching. So I know that we all sort of get there, and you reach this point and you think, what am I missing? And so I was in my first year of teaching grade 2, and I had only 20 students, and 5 of them couldn't even link sounds and letters, especially U, V, W, X, Y, Z.
In second grade.
Yeah, second grade.
Yeah.
And I remember walking outside the class. This was about 6 weeks into my teaching career. And I remember walking out and looking this way and going, what's going on? This can't be right. And nobody blinked an eye. Nobody really cared. Like they just said, that's just the way it is. And
big deal, huh?
The parents don't read to them, and they come from poor backgrounds, and they just go to special ed, and that's the end of the story. So, that wasn't good enough for me, because I thought, no way, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way. So I drove to the University of Toronto myself, and I went to OISE, the Institute for Studies in Education. I got my little photocopy card, and I photocopied journal articles, and I read them, and it was all right there. It wasn't really that hard to find. It was, yeah.
So you were smarter than I was. You went to journal articles. And I went to books, and that's why I wasted a lot of time, because there are a lot of books that'll give you the whole language propaganda.
Yeah.
Anyway,
one of my students called it activism. And I thought, what a great word, because the whole language movement was so huge it's still around. And, the whole guessing at whole words, and we'll talk about that later tonight. But so once I found that, I went back to my students, and I tutored one-on-one, and I tested all this out. I didn't just believe it, because I think that's the problem, is that you just believe whatever you hear. And I think that's the main problem. So I just tested it out. Does this really work? What's going on? Well, it worked like nobody's business. It was the game changer. And I was so passionate about it after that, because I could see how helpful it was. So then I went and I tutored, and then I started doing some training. And I remember I did training with parents, and one parent walked in and she said, "This is the key." She was holding up like some of my note handouts, and she said, "This is the key." And it was phonemic awareness, right? Just not being able to hear and understand sounds.
So true.
And then connect that.
She figured that out.
Yeah. And it was it was a game changer, right? Just those whole basics of connecting the sounds with the letters. How do we do that? And then how do we do that in a fun way? Because I think part of the problem of why there's so much resistance is that it has not been traditionally fun. So it's not, a lot of people have bad memories of harsh teachers or boring things, or like back in the 70s. I'm talking in the 70s. Like, I think things got way better really quickly, but there's good quality literature is not a bad thing. But I think that the phonics piece and the decoding piece, people resist because they don't know how to make it fun. So what did I do?
We want to know. Inquiring mind.
My sister-in-law said, kids like card games. And I thought, you're right, they do. And I produced the first deck of crazy cards back in 1998. So they've been around a long time, and I just had them produced, and the teachers that I worked with, because I was teaching at a school, loved them, and they were playing with their kids, and they thought they were great. And I thought, okay, I'll make more. And then I did the long vowels, and then I did the more crazy mores. So there are 3 sets. And
what are the crazy mores?
So the mores are just sort of everything else. So
besides the long vowels,
short vowels,
long vowels, and all those,
and then
things like ow.
Deck number 2 is all the way to spell and deck number is ow, ow, oi, oi, ow, ow, oi, oi, aw, and R, ing, church, and so it really covers most, I would say, of the basic spelling patterns in English. So 15 decks in all, and we got you covered.
There's it's like an entire reading curriculum for how to decode just through the card games. I'm sure you do more than that, but the card games are a hub that you can use at every step along the way, from CVC 3-sound words like sat to those harder crazy mores like shoot.
Yeah. And actually the hardest deck is, believe it or not, crazy long U. And so we've got, for whatever reason, it's just the way the language works.
There's so many
anyway, there's a deck for every single, and each deck contains 4 or 5 spelling patterns. So your, times 15, you've got a lot of spelling patterns covered, and they're in a systematic order. So what you're teaching and when, and then you can pull out the deck for a really fun reinforcement. And some teachers, there's a teacher in Florida who said that she was talking to her little, her student in grade 5 and said, this little one has been struggling since grade 2 with her. And in grade 5, she was just astounded. You've come so far. Look at you reading. Look at that. And he said, oh, Mrs. Wheeler, it's those card games. They taught me more about reading than anything.
Wow. That's awesome.
I think what he meant was, I'm sure the teacher was the one who taught him, but I think what he meant was they're the fun part of the practice that they need. You need practice. It's one thing to teach it, and then it's another to get them to read word after word after word without boring them.
Yeah, so you guys, I have to explain. Martha and I got connected long before she knew I was connected to her, because around the same time she was learning how to teach reading, I was as well, and I was a private tutor, and I had those kids that were making headway, but they needed more practice, as she said, and they also were resistant to practice. So I was, this was when there was no Google, and I was hunting and pecking on the internet and trying to find something that someone else had created, and I found her sound readers. And then when I was also and so they work like gangbusters, as she said, with my students. I had no trouble getting students to do it. And then like 5 or 6 years later, when I was developing a reading intervention at the University of North Carolina, we needed just a very small number of resources to give to teachers so they could implement our intervention for kindergarten and first grade readers. We gave them a small set of mostly decodable books that were about $100 total, and we included the crazy longs particularly in that set. So we had a very tight budget. Yeah, we had a very tight budget, but we included them because I thought they were so valuable, teaching the phonics that students hadn't really learned and getting it done in an extra practice way in a fun way. And it was much easier for the teachers to do. So I've been following Martha for a while, and then she's been reprinting lately. Everybody cheer her on so she can keep getting this out all over the world. And so we've been honored to have her on again today. So yeah, I think many people can relate to the struggle of becoming a teacher of reading, whether you are, quote, a reading teacher or a first grade teacher. We are teachers of reading, even if we're grandparents or parents and our children are learning how to read or they're struggling. We are all teachers of reading, and these games are just a delicious option to make sure that we don't get into the doldrums. So is it time to do show and tell?
Yes, why don't we?
Okay.
Okay, so Crazy Longs is, I think, the most popular and the Morse. And that's because it, as Marnie says, it covers, so here's the deck short A and long A.
Not long A.
And it shows you a consonant E, A I, A Y, and then the open syllable A. And so these are all of the spellings of A in one deck, which is a really nice way. I know that that's one of your favorite parts, right, Marnie?
Yes. We do that in Sort It, you guys here at Reading Simplified, but go on.
In Sort It. Yeah, Sort It. So this is a perfect addition to Sort It. So these games are just like a regular card deck. So they're fun. They feel like real playing cards. You shuffle them like real playing cards.
They're fancy.
They're fancy. They're nice. So you just and have fun. And then you deal out 8 cards per person. And I'm going to show you that in a second. And it's really just played like Crazy Eights, only with words. So once a card is laid down, the students have to do 3 things. That's a glare. Why is that glaring? That's okay. I can get it in the Doccam. So they have to do 3 things. So let me show you in the Doccam how it plays. I'm just going to, there.
The magic of technology. Here we go.
Technology. So here is how so this would be one student. This would be another student. We generally lay out 8 cards. 1 is in the middle. And what you have to do is either match the splash. So in this case, it would be OA, says O. So I could lay down toast because it has the OA pattern. Or you could lay down soap because it's the same first sound. S, and that's how we go from, it's still OA. It's still OA. And then, but if I had like snow, this person could put down snow. And that's how we move from the OA to the OW, kind of like going from hearts to diamonds. Once a card is laid down, they have to read the splash, O. I'll do it here. O, read the word, snow, and 3, make up a crazy sentence. So I'm just going to come back. And there I am. So it's generally pretty easy. Oh, Marnie, I don't see you. Oh, okay. We're just separate. There we go. I was like, oh no, I think I lost everybody.
I got a lot of buttons to press. Sorry. That was cool.
Did you hear and see that okay?
Yeah, I think so. I did. I hope you guys did. Did everybody see the layout of the cards?
Okay.
Yeah, and Jordan just pointed this clever thing out. Doccam could possibly work for playing online. When you're working with one student or a group of students.
I can't believe I didn't think of that. Because I am tutoring, but there's so much work with figuring out how to do everything online these days. I just got the Doccam from my beautiful partner for my birthday. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm very thankful. So I'm just learning how to use it. But yeah, we could easily do that. Let's see. So I'm just going to show you again. There's a little bit more to it. So once we lay down a card, snow, then the fun part and what keeps the students going is making up the crazy sentence. I colored the snow pink and made pink cupcakes with it, or something like that, something goofy, silly. Now it would be my turn. I could put down soap because it begins with S, and now we go soap, make up a crazy sentence with soap. I got soap in my brother's eyes, or I don't know. Now, if we can't go, you can use this wild card and change it to, it's this person's turn. This person gets to change it to, maybe they're going to go, consonant E. So they're going to change it to that. And they're going to strategize and make sure that they probably wouldn't pick that one because I have 2 O consonant E's. But they do strategize with this game. And again, they just say O. nose, nose, make up a crazy sentence. We keep going. There's also a miss your turn card. If this was down, then I could play my miss your turn card because it has an O there. And I would make this person miss their turn. And then we just go back and forth until whoever runs out of cards first wins. That person wins. So come back. That's just a really quick way to learn. But please remember, it's the sentence that's crazy at the end that makes it fun for the students.
Right.
It's the sentence. Not only does it bring them, allow them to put a word into a sentence, which is difficult for some students with their oral language, but it also keeps the fun in the game. And even if you're not very good with reading or decoding, you can still win just by making up the funniest sentence. So they really, really appreciate that.
Yes, that is huge. So I like on Martha's website how she has pointed out that, actually, or maybe it was one of your videos. I like some of your videos, how the simple view of reading and other core reading models teach us that the two main components of reading that we need to teach and that work together to become a good reader are decoding and word identification and listening comprehension, language comprehension. And she, even though game seems very much heavily focused on phonics and reading words, by folding in that fun, crazy sentence, she's dragging in a little bit of that language comprehension. So that is a great balance to this game. I mean, as far as academic enrichment, in addition to just good old fun. And I love the way you're saying it creates an alternative routes for winning for the struggling reader who feels like he or she can never get ahead. This is a way to get ahead. And Deb says, so much going on. It's really fun. And Carol's already asking, where can you purchase the game? So Greg, can you put that link for soundreaders.com? That is where Martha is selling these. And I will put, actually, I'll put that banner up here. But she also has a great website for teaching us about reading, and I love that. And she's even shared some Reading Simplified things there, so she has to have a great website. Yeah, and Lizzie says she likes the say a sentence as well. Yeah, and she's a user of this, so she uses cards for sorted. At times, great when working in groups and doing sorted around a table. Yeah, Jordan's all over it. There we go.
And I love the, I think that what a lot of teachers like is that they're all prepackaged. They're done. They're pretty. They're fun. You just grab a game and go. There's no planning. There's no pre-work. There's no setup. Nothing.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing I wanted to say was that the other thing that allows students to win, even though they haven't been successful with reading or decoding, is that, I'm just going to turn my dinger off, is that it's luck of the draw of the cards. So they can strategize, and a lot of students, even though they struggle with reading and decoding, they're still really great thinkers. And so they can strategize, and then they feel that sense of, accomplishment and confidence with being able to play this game and win,
right?
Even if they're not great at reading.
Yeah. And we have developed a system to make it a lot easier for the classroom teacher to differentiate based on these core sounds. So our whole streamlined pathway at Reading Simplified is just do it this way, one sound at a time, and they perfectly line up with Martha's cards. So if I have a group that's doing the long O sound with me as a classroom teacher, I send them over to Crazy Long's card deck game on, say, Tuesday. And everybody on Tuesday is going to play one of these card games, but one group's doing the long O, and maybe another group is doing short O, and another group is doing long E. And so they're getting differentiated instruction because they're targeting what we're studying in small groups, but it's still the same center. I didn't have to recreate the wheel, and they just pick a different pack, as Martha said. So it's a huge time saver, but it's still very targeted to their instructional match. So that's how we teach how to use your cards here at Reading Simplified. If you want to go to readingsimplified.com and search literacy centers, you can learn more about that system and how to make it work. But and Candace is asking the tough question: what about mailing to Australia?
I can try.
Okay.
So I have that figured out. The shipping is a little more, as you probably are used to, but I really want to get them there, and I have. I we just have to be super patient with the length of time. I mean, even just ordering something I ordered the other day, and a magazine subscription, and they said it's going to be weeks and weeks and weeks, and that's just a simple thing. So we have to just be patient, but they'll come. They'll arrive. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So yeah, you can get these games at soundreaders.com, but also if you didn't notice that tracker down below, it's pointing out that there is a free downloadable long O card deck, so you can try it out and see for yourself if it's going to work. And as Suzanne says, see if it's a fabulous resource, as we say. So yeah, so Jordan is asking, is there still a printable option where you can print it at home?
Yes. So here's the thing. I'll just go over, when you go to the website to shop, you will see the first deck is Crazy Shorts, hard copies that you would, ready-made. The second is Crazy Longs, 5 decks of ready-made cards, Crazy Longs. And the last deck is, the next set is Crazy Mores. And this is 5 decks ready-made, or you can buy all 3 for a discounted price. And underneath that, you will see short A, E, I, O, and U separate. But I would, you're going to follow with the Reading Simplified program. You would probably start with long O, I would guess, long A,
right.
E, I, O,
we do.
and U.
No, we do O first.
Here,
O, then E. Yeah.
Right. So you see where it says ready-made? Those top ones are going to be, so 1, 2, 3, 4 across. Those are all the ready-made games that you can order and just have that all done for you, 15 decks done. Underneath, you will see short A, E, I, O, and U, long A, E, I, O, and U, which I think Marnie will talk about where to start. That I think she likes you start there. And then keep going down and you'll see Crazy Mores, deck number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And those are $1.99, and you just download them, cut them up yourself. Not as much fun, but at least you get to see, what the decks are. And especially if you're in Australia and you don't want to wait for many weeks, then you can get going right away. Oh, great.
Anna has a caseload of 42 students right now, Martha, tutoring. So I'm sure she's on the lookout for lots of games.
Wow. I'm so glad you got the cards. That's great. That should be super helpful.
So so you're looking for the download button, and you can see the price is very low, $1.99 for a download for a whole card game. And then you most likely print them on cardstock, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can laminate them or whatever.
Yeah, that's what Candace did, another tutor in Australia.
Yeah.
But she wants the proper set for Crazy Longs.
The proper sets are much, much better, but it gives you options. Options are good.
So what else should we talk about with the crazy cards, Martha, before we talk about Gloria?
Okay. Well, I think we've covered it. it. I do. I really do know that that this is taxing for a lot of students, the decoding piece. For some children, the language is taxing the receptive and expressive language, but for most students, it's the decoding that's taxing. And so these games are it relaxes the brain, right? So you can almost see the brain waves starting to just chill out, and that is allowing them to be able to decode and figure it out. Because if you're tense and stressed and you've been working so hard and steam's coming out your ears, it's hard, right? We've all seen it with the students who struggle. It's hard. So this is just the ticket that sometimes you need to say, well, let's just finish this up and we'll get this writing done and we'll play a game of crazy cards. And even I play, I sort of forget that I made them because they're just a staple. Like you said, they're a great staple. And I love what you said last time we met, Marnie, and I passed this along to teachers. How do we teach this effectively in a whole classroom? And I think you said something like Monday we do a card game, Tuesday we do a board game, Wednesday we do a hangman or something like that. So they're just really good for that.
So you have a rhythm that you always do at your centers. So there's always a word work game station, and the routine of Monday always being card deck day means you don't have to do anything. They expect to go play some crazy card game. One week they're going to play O, and another group the following week is going to do E. But it's just there, set up. Once you teach the rhythm, then it carries you for weeks and weeks, especially when you think, how many card decks do you have again? 15?
15. So, and you don't have to explain, and you don't have to re-explain and give them instructions over and over again. Right. And Monday's a really good day for
Monday can be the doldrums of Monday, coming back if they're too tired. Yep, that's smart.
Or Friday, celebration day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Card game day.
So one of the things that Martha and I have both experienced is working with students who come to us who are struggling, that have a default habit of guessing. When they come to a word they don't know, they maybe look at the first sound, and like the last sound, but then they're kind of guessing mostly based on the context of the text and maybe a little bit of phonics information. And what we've been trying to do as reading teachers, as many of you have is been to try to get them to pay attention to all the letter sounds and read those sounds left to right. And it's hard to undo that guessing habit. And so we were both realizing that the cards like this and decodable texts that are similar, where they focus on one sound at a time and they don't dump a ton of words of various levels on a child, they are tools that help us break that guessing habit. Does that make sense? So when you encounter a student who's doing that guessing thing, one of the best things you can do is to give them materials that don't prompt guessing. Like, let's look there are materials like particularly a lot of predictable text that encourage the child to look at the picture to figure out, this is an elephant, this is a bear, this is a tiger. So they can stop paying attention to print, right? And they can just look at the picture. But what's going on with the crazy shorts or the crazy longs? They got to look at it, don't they?
That's the one thing that some people at first were like, oh, I wish you had a little picture with each one. And I said, well, that's actually the point, is that there is no picture. You actually, there's no other way to figure that out than to read the splash and the 3 simple steps: read the splash, read the word, and then make up the sentence. But you have to, and also reading the splash, it's the vowel spelling pattern that trips them up every time. It's not the consonants. They don't get mixed up with occasionally, but and t and r and p. It's the vowel, and so that teaches them the splash is where the vowel pattern is, and so it helps them zero in on that. And often they blend better once they just read the vowel O. They can, if that says O, then yes, they have to think. Once they say O, boom, they can get like oh, that must say toast. Yeah, they don't have to go oh.
Right.
They can often just
it helps with blending. It's like scaffolding a trigger. You're making the decoding process like breaking it down. A tutor what I do when I have a student is I might tap the OA and say, if they don't know it, I'll say oh, but by putting it all by itself, can you show us those cards one close up on the document camera again? By showing just the OA all by itself in the upper left, what she's calling the splash, that's fixating our attention on the Doccam.
I'll do it on the Doccam.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. That's fixating our attention on that specific phonics pattern. And then also we're seeing it in the context of reading real words.
So there we go.
I love that.
Can you see that clearly?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah. And you can maybe lift it up higher so it was off the table. What would happen then?
What do you mean? Yeah, can you see
that's perfect. Yeah, so we've got the OA, it's all by itself, and then the student, of course, would read poach, whether they're facing one way or the other. And I think that's a really clever part of this game. It's going to draw their attention to the inside parts of words, which they normally ignore.
And Crazy Long E has homonyms as well. So they've got we've got the W and EA. So some of the words are like what's a homonym with W and EA? Here. No, heel. So you've got HEAL on one side. I don't know if I can find it, but
that would be a trick if you can find it immediately. Heel, as in your foot, and to get well, heal from COVID.
That's right. There it is. There it is.
I love it.
Yeah. So then they have to pay very close attention because they may have a double E or an EA. So that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Jordan's making a guess there. Do you have meat and meat?
Yes. I'm sure I have deer and deer. And I'm sure I have meat and meat. There aren't too many. Scene and scene. That's a hard one. So there are some, the other thing about differentiating here is that some of the vocabulary is more challenging, right? So
yes,
to make up a sentence, you have to really think about it, and you're going to be learning new words, and that's also going to be helping the oral language strand.
Right. So important.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this guessing problem, and Martha has a child who just said it so succinctly on a video. So we're going to show you that in a minute, but I wanted her to give us the story of this little girl and who she's helped to learn to read.
Okay, so this is the story of Gloria, and I have asked her permission to share, and she loves helping all of my students. Actually, when I ask them permission to share their videos, they are more than happy because they know it's going to help other teachers, and they know it's going to help other students because they can tell what works and what doesn't, what really works. So Gloria, when she first came to me and she first started to put it together that there was a system to this decoding, that to the reading, she didn't even know what decoding was, but there was, there's a way to figure out these words, because in her mind, you were just supposed to know them. You weren't, she couldn't, nobody ever explained, and she came to me in grade 3. So in 3rd grade, nobody in kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2 had ever meant, well, her parents would have, because they're they have an older daughter who has dyslexia as well. So they've been through this, but she hadn't had tutoring yet. And we didn't know yet. So anyway, she came to me, and she just, it takes a couple of weeks, but after a couple of weeks, she started to figure out, maybe not even a couple of weeks, it wasn't very long, when she went, oh. And anyway, we have this beautiful video that I took of her explaining. She used to, poor little thing, used to sit in kindergarten. Her biggest memory of kindergarten is sitting at the table, having to finish her work while she wanted to just play with the flowers in the dress-up center. She talks about that a lot, but she couldn't finish her work because she wasn't able to do anything but memorize, because she just wasn't getting the whole process of decoding. So, all through kindergarten went like this. She was always having to stuck at her desk, and she's an extremely creative, bright little girl. And she, all through grade 1, all through grade 2, just struggle, and she couldn't figure out, because she was very bright. How can these students be doing this? How are they doing this? To her, it was like magic. So she explains how it feels in this video to have come to to know that there's actually a way that we are learning, that we are reading these words. And for some students, it's lightning quick, and they pick up on it very easily because of the structure and function of the way their brain functions, the structure of their brain. And for other students, or the kind of instruction they have had or not had. And then for other students, it's just, you need a lot more repetition and a lot more practice. And she is one of those students. So,
which is why card games are so helpful.
Yeah. She loved them. So are we going to show the video?
Yeah. So watch for Gloria's, 180-degree transformation in her mind about how she learned to read. So cool. Thank you for sharing this story with us, Martha. All right. I'm going to make it big, and we are going to listen to Gloria.
Is there anything you can tell me? Like, what was it like before you came here?
Very hard to do things and try to read words. But then when I came here, I opened my eyes to see that there's more things to learn than just to know the words quickly, except for spelling them out and reading them. And that's what reading is. But before, I just thought that it was just looking at the words and knowing what it is.
There's actually some keys that give you the knowledge, right? So how did it make you feel before?
Very struggled.
Struggled? How did that make you feel?
Very nervous.
Yeah. And now? Getting there? Is that getting a bit better?
It's getting very much better.
Very much better. Good. Good. Hopefully it keeps going. Okay. Thanks for that.
Wasn't that awesome? So sweet. Yeah, Jordan says, bless her sweet self.
Out of the mouths of babes, right?
Right. And many of us have experienced this before. Students that struggle like this. Sorry, you guys. Let's turn this off. Okay. Who has worked with a reader like that, where they came to you, they were guessing, they didn't get the code, and you taught them how to read, and pretty quickly they were like, oh, why didn't I hear this before? Or I never knew, or it's not that hard, or these types of things. Padma says, yes, she's putting into words what a lot of strugglers feel. Yeah.
And, you know, that doesn't stop them from guessing. So, you know, they get into a habit of reading these little beginning readers that are, I like, you know, popsicles, I like snow, I like fish, I like this. And a lot of students, until they really start to feel confident and know enough spelling patterns to be able to sound out most words, they still have this terrible habit of flicking their eyes right away from the page, right away from the words. And so I have to cover up the pictures sometimes, and and then once it starts and they start to really, really embody, like, oh, I can do this. I know how to do this. This is a system. This can take me a second, but I'm going to get this. They stop looking at the pictures so much. And sometimes still, when they come to a word they're afraid of or concerned, or that they're not going to be able to get, but it takes sometimes I'm sure I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that it is so hard to break those habits. It's very hard. And so we really stick with decodable readers.
Right.
Which, Marnie, you do such a beautiful video. I love it, on decodable text and why and how and which, and I use that a lot.
Oh, good.
It's really important.
That's why the text, the tools that we use for a season are so much better if they do focus on something that's decodable. It's not that you need to do it forever, and it's not that you need to do it exclusively, but early on, I do use mostly decodable text exclusively until that student has the default approach to reading an unknown word of looking at the print and trying to say each sound. We call that strategy the blend as you read strategy, but it's really just, are their eyes fixed on print, and are they attempting to say sounds that match onto the print? Their phonics knowledge may not be perfect yet, but if they have that as their default mechanism for how to read, then varying the text, it can be helpful for a season. So you study the long O, and then you also maybe read Frog and Toad, which happens to have some O's in it. But I don't go to those texts that are not pretty predictable with the spelling choices until that habit is ingrained. And so particularly for those older readers who have to do the unlearning, we really have to kind of be careful of the text. And that's why these kinds of games like Martha's Sound Readers are so helpful. As Mim says, she's glad that the cards don't have a picture on them. She also covers up the pictures on her resources, or deliberately chooses resources that don't have pictures to force their children's attention back to text. And sometimes people feel that means that the kids are going to be bored, or that there's not a lot of fun in stories. First of all, we're still going to be reading aloud, hopefully, to these students. Secondly, they are enthralled with their own accomplishment, and they know when they're reading and when they're just playing the game, or at least
memorizing. And
so it's not generally, for most kids, I don't find that a season of decodable readers or tools like games like this is boring or dull. I think that's just a misnomer, and certainly they could become boring or dull if we're not sensitive to how our students are feeling or thinking. But a good teacher is always sensitive to those things, and the resources she mixes and matches to the situation and the child's emotions and motivations. And so I think that's kind of a straw man argument when we say that they're boring.
I actually heard the best research I've ever heard, and it was about, and maybe you've heard of it, but, and I should have grabbed it so I could share it, but I don't have it right now. But it's a great study that they did when they gave children a choice of decodables or leveled readers, which is not decodable. They're based on other things, or predictable text. And they said, well, you've got to read your decodable first, and then you can read whatever you like. So that was the strategy in the classroom. Maybe anyway, what did the students do who were reading well? They went and they picked a beautiful, good quality book, interesting, lots of juicy words, a novel. They were fine to do that. But the students who were struggling went right back to the decodables because they felt successful. Right? That they knew they could actually read those. They liked the books. They actually enjoyed them. And so I think it's a real, it's not really true that they won't enjoy them. Now, some I have seen are better than others. I'm sure you've all.
Oh, sure.
Right? Some of them, they're not very fun to read even for me. So, or for anybody, but there are some really great, juicy, interesting decodable text out there that can reinforce all of these patterns.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. And actually the research of, you need to send me that study because I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
But Carol Connor also did something somewhat similar, testing first graders on a variety of measures and then giving them based on the computer generated curriculum based on their reading profile. They got different types of instruction. And indeed, some of the kids were like that. Those kids that went for the picture books, probably they were past the beginning decoding stage and they could do more high level meaning based things because they had that foundation and that was best for their reading development. But the kids who didn't have the foundation shored up yet, they needed to focus mostly on decoding. And as a result, when they got that type of matched instruction, they did better than just everybody do first grade reading, right? So there is a literature base to that. Besides our intuition, we know when we match our stuff with kids' needs, it just feels better, and we see better results. So yeah, somebody else would like to read that study too. So you guys have some really great comments, and I'm not going to get to all of them because I also want to share Martha's other baby. She's doing so many great things. Let's pull this up. Let's Get Reading Right. Greg, can you share that website as well? So she's got sound readers to disseminate these card games. And also remember, don't forget, you can go to Sound Readers to get a free, here we go, to get a free long O deck to download. But also at Let's Get Reading Right, she is talking about how to disseminate information to teachers and parents about the science of reading. And so it's a great place for you to go and find a lot of fabulous resources. So she's got step 1, step 2, step 3. You could check out some of her blogs, get some training. She's got a great list of resources and then other organizations. So these are some places that she's vetted. And I thought we'd also kind of point out these. Speaking of the decodable, I didn't know these were free. She says she's been liking the journeys.
Really loving journeys and free. Yeah. If you click download, love the phonic books, love the ones that you and I both use, Marnie.
Yeah.
The animal antics there.
Yeah.
There are a lot.
Let me bring that. I just need to open up a different screen to do that for some reason. Chrome tab. Here we go. Maybe I should go to the entire screen. I won't have to jump back and forth. These you guys are free right now. So if you want to go to Martha's site, letsgetreadingright.com, you can find a link for these journey books. So here's
under resources.
Under resources. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So here is, do you think this is just for COVID that it's available for free?
I don't know, but I grabbed it because you can download it and then put it on your computer and you've got it. Well, for online learning anyway, and easy enough to print off copies. Now it starts really, really basic, as you can see. But I just do a book like I do 2 or 3 of these, 2 usually, of these little stories as review before we get into, and they're simple and they're short and they've got diversity and they've got, really cute.
And I like here
they're diverse and they're thoughtful. And as we go along, that my students love them as review. So we hello, how are you doing? Did you have a good weekend? Great. Let's read these 2 stories. And that's I've been doing. And they're short and they're great review and they love them. Yeah, go to a little harder one.
And speaking of the crazy longs, this one, you can see over here, we've got the R sound, these first two stories, and then or, and then looks like this might be the A spelling, but an but here
so
we get
that
into
would match with Crazy Morse too.
Crazy Morse, but also over down here, right, we got the long vowels. I think Good Homes is probably the O sound.
Could be
sure.
could be a.
Oh, could be. Oh, I don't know. I might be wrong. This is just the E sound, huh? Caves make good homes for bats. Bats sleep all day. They hook their back feet in cracks. Bats sleep upside down. So
all decodable, depending on what you've taught.
And this is Unit 5, so we were fairly down. So I'm really glad you pointed this resource
real
out to me.
photos. So some of the sometimes they're cartoons, sometimes they're real photos, sometimes they're like more computer generated pictures. So I just find there's a good variety, and they absolutely can't wait to go to the next story. They were like, please, can I just see the picture for the next? It's like, sure, you can see the cover, and then we move on. But they're they're a nice way to start your lesson. That's how I use them for review.
And this, I always have a hard time finding sound stories, the in girl and hurt and earth. And this one has a lot of The crow is perched in a birch tree.
Look at that.
She goes back to her perch. First, fox asks, crow turns her back. So it's got a lot of what I'm always checking out. So yes, you can find this Journeys link at Martha's Let's Get Reading Right. And if you go to resources, this is just a bit of it. And there you can see Reading Simplified is even hosted. So it's, like I said, it's got to be good. And then back to her card games, word lists, just a great set of things there for you guys. So we're just giving away a lot of goods today, aren't we, Martha?
We are. That's what we do.
Lizzie says they look fun, and Jordan says, ooh, thanks. Journeys are great. Kathy says, I hope there's a replay. Yes, you can always come here to the Reading Simplified's Facebook page, and you will find it if you just scroll back through. And also, if you're a member, this will be all of our Facebook Lives end up in the Teacher's Lounge, our discussion board. So, okay, we've packed in a lot. How about if you could go back? I see one question that's kind of a deep question. Maybe you could go back to the feed, Martha, and answer a few things that we didn't get to address.
I can't see later on because I can't see the feed. Okay.
Yeah.
Just when I watch it later on. Yeah. I will. I'm going to post that to my Facebook too. So.
Lizzie says she likes that they have nonfiction too. So Greg, can you put those two links in again? If people are just popping in here, I wanted to make sure you knew that you could go to soundreaders.com to get those cards. Show us again your cards. And and also Let's Get Reading Right to get more information about how to teach reading. So the cards are helpful, but not if you don't know how or when to use them. So Martha's doing a great job of getting the information out there. And of course, the cards are just great fun. And as this one Facebook user, they sound perfect for what his or her students need.
I hope your students all have fun. Really, that's my goal in making them was just practice and just reduce the stress.
Now more than ever, right? So Odile wraps it up. Thank you so much, Martha. It was a treat to hang with you. And thank you all for being here as our guests. Hope that this was informative and inspiring. See you next time on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And what, Martha, were you going to add anything?
I was going to say thank you so much for everything that you do. Everywhere I go, everybody knows about Reading Simplified and Switch It, and we're always talking about it. And so everything you do for everybody, thank you. I'm sure I'm not the only one to.
Oh, thank you. That's kind. Thank you. All right. Good night, everyone.